So we got to talk about Hakeem Jeffries, aka T-Moo Obama, Discount Rack Obama, Walmart Obama himself, who was confronted about once again shutting down the government. Now this time it's not a full shutdown, but it still affects serious departments such as TSA, Coast Guard, FEMA, and of course the Department of Homeland Security, just to name a few. And he basically said the quiet part out loud. And what this tells you is what Democrats really want to happen and what they're willing to do to get it. As always, if you enjoy the content, best way to let me know is by smashing that thumbs up and subscribe to stay locked in for future videos. Let's get right into it.
So as this shutdown continues, I want to remind our viewers what it is exactly congressional Democrats are seeking to reopen the Department of Homeland Security. You want immigration agents to show IDs, to wear body cameras, take off their masks, stop racial profiling, and seek judicial warrants to enter private property. Talks between the White House and congressional Democrats are continuing. Are you willing to compromise, to let any of these go, to get the government reopened?
Well, our value proposition is simple. Taxpayer dollars should be used to make life more affordable for the American people, not brutalize or kill them, as we horrifically saw in Minneapolis with the cold-blooded killings of Renee Nicole Good and Alex Preddy. We know, and the American people clearly know, that ICE is totally out of control, and they need to be reined in, because the American people deserve immigration enforcement that is fair, that is just, and that is humane. And so we need dramatic change at ICE, including but not limited to the types of things that you laid out before any DHS funding bill moves forward.
Yeah, so more of the same talking points from Hakeem Jeffries, who conveniently leaves out the actual facts about why the two individuals who lost their lives, while it should not have happened, we can talk about that part, were not the result of reckless federal agents as much as it was the reckless decisions made by the so-called protesters. And it's that lack of truthfulness that makes it hard to even take this guy seriously. But this is where Jeffrey slips up when referring to illegal immigrants in which ICE is removing. Take a listen.
With the exception of some flexibility on body cameras, because they're starting to spend some money to get those out there, some Republicans have rejected this list of policy reform proposals. You guys still seem miles apart. So when conceivably will we see this resolved? And again, I ask you, are there any of these points that you're willing to let go in order to get the government reopened?
Well, we're willing to have a good faith conversation about everything, but fundamentally we need change that is dramatic, that is bold, that is meaningful, and that is transformational. And these are common sense things. For instance, judicial warrants should be required before ICE agents can storm private property or rip everyday Americans out of their homes.
Yeah, so Hakeem Jeffries wants to push the narrative that everyday Americans are the ones who are being ripped out their homes. And at this point, we know that's not what's actually happening. If it were, please believe the media will be running those clips on repeat 24/7. Now, what is happening is that ICE is removing individuals who are here illegally. And so the question becomes, why is Jeffries referring to people here unlawfully as Americans? That's what I would like to know. In my view, it points to what the Democrat Party ultimately wants, to make those individuals permanent citizens, regardless of how they entered the country. Democrats keep showing you they care more about illegal migrants than Americans, and Jeffrey proves that here. Take a listen.
Well, here's the thing. The administration and Republicans have made a clear decision that they would rather shut down FEMA, shut down the Coast Guard, and shut down TSA than enact the type of dramatic reforms necessary so that ICE and other DHS law enforcement agencies are conducting themselves like every other law enforcement professional in the country. For instance, police officers don't use masks. County sheriffs don't use masks. State troopers don't use masks. Why is it that ICE agents who are untrained are being unleashed on American communities with this type of lawlessness, violence, and brutality? Unacceptable, unconscionable, and it's un-American.
Yeah, and we went over this with Tom Homan a little earlier. Of course, they point out that assaults against ICE officers have gone up over 1,300% this past year, from about 275 compared to 19 the year before. So there are some legitimate concerns about those agents being targeted.
So yeah, Hakeem Jeffries could really care less about federal agents and their families, because what he says completely ignores how they were being doxxed, how their personal information is being leaked, and even the death threats they have faced. But Jeffries once again conveniently leaves that part out. And he's not alone in pushing this narrative. No, this is Chuck Schumer when he was asked by Jake Tapper on CNN. Similar question, and here's his response. Take a listen.
Well, what if they are going after the cartels? I understand with the roving patrols and such that you're talking about, but if in specific targeted instances, if ICE agents are going after criminals, violent criminals, members of the cartels or whatever, and you'll acknowledge that some, maybe a minority, but some of the people being picked up are that, there certainly is an understandable concern about an ICE agent's safety in that instance, no?
Every other police department in America is unmasked. ICE can do the same. This is a rogue force. They're almost trained, it looks like, to be nasty and mean and cruel and go way beyond what ordinary police departments do. So they need to be reined in. They need to stop the violence. And the question that Americans are asking is, why aren't Republicans going along with these common sense proposals? They're not crazy. They're not way out. They're what every police department in America does.
Yeah, so basically, let's all pretend that federal agents in this current political climate face the same type of harassment and danger that police officers are facing. And we know that's not the case currently. We know it. Those on the left have made a concentrated effort to devalue the authority of federal agents such as ICE in the public eye. That's why you have people who feel empowered to impede and interfere with their operations. It's been made to seem like acceptable behavior. And I think that's a part of the Democrat Party's plan. If they devalue it, then it becomes easier to argue that it's really not needed, right? But now, as a result, other departments suffer as well, like TSA and FEMA and so on and so forth. And let's not forget, Democrats did the same thing a few months ago and got nothing done. The ACA subsidies still expired. Democrats walked away empty-handed, yes. And so what's the point of all of this time, really? But here's Tim Burchard with his reaction. Take a listen.
Senator John Fetterman, the only Democrat who voted to advance the full-year funding bill, saying his Democratic colleagues have boxed themselves in. He says, quote, what the F is the Democratic off-ramp on this? Once you set this in motion, ICE already has all the BBB money that it needs. Where's our leverage? At the same time, you do see House Democrats floating a proposal that would take care of basically every agency under DHS except for ICE. Do you think that's evidence that Democrats realize they're on shaky ground justifying all of this?
Well, I guess no pun intended, but they are on thin ice. And I'm complimentary of President Trump, of course, because he put the funding in the big, beautiful bill for Border Patrol and Customs. I think he foresaw it, as oftentimes Trump's playing chess and the rest of us are playing checkers. So, yeah, I think the Democrats' objective here is to cause as much pain as they can. And they've clearly shown that in the past. They have no real agenda other than to disrupt President Trump's agenda, and that's America's agenda. Who in the world would want to defund ICE, defund FEMA, defund the TSA?
The Democrats are who? They're willing to hold these agencies hostage. Let's not get it twisted. The Americans who wake up every day at work at these airports, TSA, FEMA, other agencies, they're the ones who get caught in the middle. And let's get one thing straight. This isn't about funding. The big, beautiful bill already covers DHS funding. So what is this really all about? I think he's right when he says it's about disrupting the president's plans. That's what Democrats want to do. The plans that the American people voted for, because right now the Democrats have no agenda. They have no clear plan, no clear path, just oppose Trump. And here's Schumer being confronted on just that. Take a listen.
So your fellow Democratic Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, who voted against shutting down the government, he pointed out that, quote, this shutdown literally has zero impact on ICE functionality. Democracy demands a way forward to reform ICE without damaging our critical national security agencies, unquote. And it is true that CBP and ICE are fully funded this year, and you're using the funding of other parts of DHS, such as the Coast Guard or TSA, as leverage. And in the meantime, ICE can keep doing whatever it wants to do. So the question would be, how does the shutdown do anything to accomplish the goal of reining in Trump's immigration crackdown if ICE and CBP are not necessarily directly affected?
Well, 2 points. First, we have proposed that the guardrails that will be applied to ICE are applied not just to the present funding, but to the previous funding that was in the big bad bill. That's very important to us. So that will rein in all of the ICE agents, no matter where they're funded. But second, there's a simple answer to this. Republicans, go along with these common sense proposals, and we'll fund the whole DHS bill.
I mean, so by that logic, what's the common sense of having TSA workers who don't have anything to do with the political fight, yet they're the ones who suffer? I mean, by that logic, is it common sense that Democrats who tried this a few months ago, dragged this out for 42 days, and got nothing out the deal, just Americans going without paychecks to do the same thing over again? And so if we're keeping track of who's operating with common sense and logic, the Democrat Party isn't looking too good right now. I'm sorry. But let's finish up with Tom Homan. Take a listen.
Why should these immigration agents be any different? And when it comes to the masks as well, you know, cops go out every day.
I don't know.
Everywhere across the country get threatened in one way or another. But why have to wear all that and protect themselves when there are others out there wearing badges that don't have to do that?
Well, again, they are wearing badges. They're wearing placards to identify what agency they're from.
But their name isn't on it, right?
When it comes to masks, I don't know of another law enforcement agency in the country that has an 8,000% increase in threats. Just yesterday, the director of ICE, his wife was filmed walking to work. His home address has been doxxed. His kids have been doxxed and filmed. So no, I don't know of another agency in this country that has an 8,000% increase. And then, look, let's remember why we're here, Ed. We're here because the last 4 years, over 10 million illegal aliens crossed that border, released in this country unvetted. ICE has to do a law enforcement response to deal with the last 4 years of open border, where they claimed the border was secure every day, and it wasn't.
Ultimately, this is about restoring law and order, period. And even if you factor in the minimal errors that agents have made, because yeah, they made their errors, it doesn't compare to the crimes committed by individuals who are here illegally and the American lives that have been lost. Yes. But yeah, Democrats are going to continue to criticize because at this point, that's all they can do. Try to impede the Trump administration. But let me know your thoughts on this. As always, smash the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video. That's the best way to let me know. Subscribe to stay locked in with future videos. And as always, until next time.